What's up, everybody? Peter X is So Coffee here, and welcome to another episode of the Purple Manifesto, which is a sub-channel for my music appreciation and personal branding and how musicians do personal branding channel here on YouTube. So today we're doing the song 17 Days. Not released on the album. This is a B-side. This was the B-side for When Doves Cry. And so that was the first single released from Purple Rain, and it was released before the movie and the album. So um, it did have a little bit of lead time. Again, this was Prince being Prince. I talked, in the Erotic City episode about, Prince. I mean, part of his mystique is he didn't always put his best songs on albums, and sometimes he would put them on B-sides, uh, um, and sometimes he would, he wouldn't release them at all, and they'd trickle out, via bootleg. But yeah, so this is, man, I love this song. It clocks in at 3 minutes and 54 seconds. Originally, this song was supposed to go on a Vanity 6 album and then Apollonia 6. And, eventually Prince is like, nah, this song is dope. I'm going to keep it for myself. So for years, my theory was this song was pulled from Purple Rain, and When Doves Cry took its place. That was my personal theory. Never, because it kind of fits thematically. Never been confirmed, but that was my theory. Doesn't look like it's ever held up, but thematically it could fit in there. So originally Prince, Wendy, and Lisa came up with this together, just jamming. But when it came to actually recording the song, Prince played all the instruments in the studio version of the song. So, man, it's a great breakup song. It's definitely a pop song, but it still is very R&B. It's still, it can be very funky. His live versions of this song are extremely funky, and I'll leave some links down here so you can check them out. But I mean, Prince, at his best was very passionate, and this is a very passionate song. Missing a lover, essentially. So let's talk about the live versions I've attached in the comments. The first is Stockholm, Sweden from August 22nd, 1986. This is just Prince being a dude. Call and response with the crowd. Super funky version, a lot funkier than the studio version, which wasn't uncommon for Prince. Almost always, it was very rare where the live version wasn't even funkier than the studio version. Um, you know, Bands have off nights, but if you sample any tour of Prince and the live versions, it'll be a heck of a lot funkier than the studio version, which says a lot because Prince is, you know, top five all time when it comes to funk. So yeah, Stockholm, Sweden, August 22nd, 1986. I think Prince is wearing all white in this. And this is a video. The second live version is from the LA Forum in April 28th, 2011. Different, still funky, very different beat, a heavier beat. He uh, uh, Shelby J does a lot of vocals on this song too, and um, with her other female singer from the time. I never did get her name, but she was, she's a white woman probably in her late 40s, early 50s, and she toured, with Prince, from about 2008 to 2012 maybe. So, and they do a tribute in the middle of this, Lover Girl, for Tina Marie. So this is probably about the time Tina Marie passed. Then I'm going to refer you to the piano and the microphone. Prince does an acoustic version of 17 Days on the Piano. And the acoustic version clocks in at 6 minutes and 20 seconds. I will probably, in case you have not heard it, and if you love this song, I'll put a link here from the YouTube version of Prince. Talk about, I mentioned Prince, and at his best, he's passion. There's passion definitely in the acoustic piano version of the song. Prince just lets it rip, and love it. Wasn't a big fan of the piano microphone release overall. I thought, it was incomplete, and I see where they were going, because I learned a lot from Prince in the early 90s. He taught me how to write songs, because you got enough bootlegs. Particularly Computer Blue, and somewhere near my bootlegs there was the hallway version that was released, an expanded version, but there's about 4 or 5 different versions of that. You can see how Prince edited that song down to get to what was released on the final version of the album. The piano and the microphone doesn't do that. No artist, Sheila E. kind of did not support piano microphone either, and she kind of likened it to, releasing, publishing someone's diary. Because this is very rudimentary, and you don't get much from this. What you do get is when Prince gets a fully fleshed out song, and then, you get 5 or 6 versions of it, and then you figure out, how he edited it down and what he got rid of. There's famously, Old Friends for Sale. There, I don't know how many versions in the bootleg and how many different lyrics he did for that. So that's always interesting, when you have different versions of the song and figuring out where Prince went with the song and then the final version of the song. Another one that has a lot of versions out there was Do Yourself a Favor. And I've heard 3 or 4 versions of that out there, and then we get the version from the expanded release from 1999. So yeah, I see what they're trying to do with piano and the microphone. I've only listened to it once. They should have, in my opinion, taken this acoustic version of 17 Days and put it on the expanded version of Purple Rain. And I do kind of agree with Sheila. I don't think Prince would have supported, doing this. I think Prince would, support, doing the crown, as I said earlier, 5 or 6 versions of rough drafts of the song. But this, piano and the microphone wasn't even, rough drafts. It was doodling around on the piano. So, you don't get much out of that. And there's no progression. There's no payoff down, to Prince messing around on Purple Rain, and where you get the Purple Rain. And you have, look, you can go right now and go to, the original version of Purple Rain that Prince, worked off of. The original version of Purple Rain was a live version. I believe it may have been but anyway, it's about 15 minutes long. Prince did do some overdubs and change some stuff, but you can go, pull that, just go to YouTube and type in the original version of Purple Rain, and you can find it and listen to it and see what he took out and sort of get an idea of what he did. So yeah, but I love, the piano and the microphone version. I'll leave a link to it down there. And then, so what happened when this drops, and whenever, piano, 2019 or 2020 when Piano on the Microphone came out. Then folks out of the EDM, the electronic dance music folks, took this acoustic version and married it up with house beats, and you know, oh man, they kill it. So I'm going to leave you my favorite. There's about 7 versions out there. I'm going to leave a link to my favorite one. But you know, Prince was a master at, you know, he could take one song and do 7 or 8 different versions. Go and Get Off, and he, you know, he did, you know, he has 7 or 8 versions. It's on the major streaming services. I think they called these maxi-singles back in the day. Go take a look at Get Off. He has a house version that's smoking, and there's several versions of Get Off Live where Prince, you know, marries the funk version with the house version, and it's pretty dope. I think it's actually on the live version of concert, you know, for the expanded version of Diamonds and Pearls. He does that. There's better versions of him doing that than that live version on the expanded version, but it, you know, it still gives you an idea of what, you know. Try to find Prince's Diamonds and Pearls Tokyo show, because I have that somewhere, and he does a really good version. And also he does a good version of Get Off, where he marries the funk and the house version from the Act 1 tour in Chicago from the early 90s. So that's probably the best one I've heard. So try to find those to figure out, you know, what he's doing there. The other thing where, you know, Prince, I'm talking about these maxi singles, he did a Let It Go. So he did an expanded single for that with 4 or 5 versions. Find the Caviar mix. It's kind of funky, a little different, you know, pretty much the same vocals. But the Caviar mix for Let It Go, that is on YouTube. I found that. And then he also has a sweet, oh man, I'm blanking now. Hold on. All right, I remember. He has a really beautiful version, an acoustic version of Space. And I believe that is also on YouTube. And I actually think the acoustic version is better than the album version. So check that out. You know, he did about 4 or 5 different versions of Space. And then the Beautiful Experience, my all-time favorite of Most Beautiful Girl in the World. He has a funky version of it on there. He has a house version. Find a Beautiful Experience. There's about 7 or 8 versions of, and nobody else did this. I mean, it was just amazing what we, you know, when he would do this. And so I'm kind of doing that here, you know, for 17 days. But anyway, yeah. So let me hit this close. Yeah, tell your fellow Prince fans about this podcast. I know there are other podcasts out there. Michael Dean Podcast Juice.net, or i.e. the Prince Podcast. I know there's the Purple and Gold. Is that the guys out of Australia? No, it's the Peach and Black out of Australia. So, you know, hey, respect what they do, like what they're doing. I'm doing a different thing. I kind of, you know, fit in where, you know, sort of what they're doing. But I do have a different perspective because I write songs myself. So spread the word about, you know, my Prince sub channel, the Purple Manifesto. So, you know, I got 5 albums of my own. They're here on the channel. They're also on the major streaming services. My debut album's called Book 1. I also have 2 science fiction fantasy novels on Amazon under the name Peter Exodus Okafor. My music I record under the name Exodus, Xodus. So do me a favor, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. And again, tell your fellow Prince fans what's going on here. Thank you again, and I will see you next episode.